What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to yet again another episode. Today we're going to do a solo episode. Going to be a little bit shorter. Want to keep it super actionable, but also provide you with a little bit of science in the process. I want to talk to you about digestive health. I think it's something that many of us neglect and we don't pay much attention to. I know myself personally, when my digestion is off, you just don't feel as good mentally, physically, and there is a reason for that. And it's because your gut communicates with the rest of your body through the gut-brain axis, gut-liver axis, gut-muscle axis, whatever it is. There's the gut interacts with so many different parts of the body. So when your digestion is off, your gut is off, you best believe that it's going to affect some other parts of your body. So I kind of want to establish what is good digestive health just right out of the get-go. And it's kind of these 6 things that I like to focus on. It's like having regular and pain-free bowel movements, having consistent energy throughout the day, normal amounts of gas and bloating. Again, gas and bloating are totally normal. It's just when you have extremes. So, if you have gas all day, it always smells pretty bad. You always have bloating, then that's really an issue. But gas and bloating from time to time, not a huge deal. Also, healthy bowel transit time, mental clarity, so no brain fog, and then healthy reactions to food and stress. So those are just some signs of good digestive health. And then some signs of poor digestive health would be like feelings of bloating, gas, abdominal pain, fatigue, nausea, and all of these things can affect you physically. Whether you're at the gym, you'll notice that your performance is suffering, or just even doing daily activities of life, you'll notice you just don't feel as good. But it also can affect you mentally, whether you're at work, you're not performing as well, or spending time with friends, family, trying to read, like you're just not as present as you'd normally be. And as I said, the gut communicates with the brain. So there's the gut-brain axis, that bidirectional relationship. So when the gut is off, you can, be assured that, you can experience some of these mental and emotional symptoms. And on the note of gut health, the first thing that I want to do is I want to establish what the gut microbiota actually is. And it refers to these microorganisms that are living within our gut, things like bacteria, viruses, and fungi. And the one that we're going to really focus on today is these bacteria. And you probably heard the term good bacteria and bad bacteria. So let's talk about bacteria and their role. First thing is going to be a protective function. So they displace any pathogens that are present within our gastrointestinal tract. As well, they will secrete these little antimicrobial factors, preventing bad things from growing. And as well, they interact with the immune system. So it's really important for a protective function. It also has a structural function. So our gastrointestinal tract is lined with these cells known as epithelial cells. These cells function to absorb a lot of our nutrients, and holding these cells together are known as these things called tight junctions. And when we have a good gastrointestinal epithelial barrier, a lot of these tight junctions are present. They're holding these cells together, and they're preventing a lot of things from flowing through. So whether it's bad bacteria or their metabolites, it's holding these epithelial cells together and basically fortifying them together and making sure that they're really tight. So that's the second function of these bacteria, is the structural function. And then the third function is the metabolic function, and that's the one we're really going to dive into today. And essentially what they do is they ferment non-digestible fibers that we feed them through things like fruits and vegetables, and they produce these things known as short-chain fatty acids, and that is where the magic lies. So we're going to dive a little bit into that going forward. And so let's dive in a little bit into the central role of these bacteria, and that is to ferment. So we feed our body fiber, that being from fruit and vegetables, and these little guys, they ferment this fiber and produce short-chain fatty acids, which I previously said, as well as gases. So when you have a little bit of fiber, that's where you're going to get those gases, because these little bacteria are fermenting them and producing them. So I want to kind of go into these short chain fatty acids. So short chain fatty acids are produced from these bacteria that are in the gut in response to dietary fiber, and they'll go on to be absorbed by those epithelial cells, and they'll even act directly on them to increase the production of various hormones involved in satiety. So things like GLP-1. If you've heard of Ozempic or any of these, you're probably familiar with the term GLP-1. As well, these short chain fatty acids will go on to the immune system and stimulate the immune system, go on to the pancreas, the liver, adipose tissue to help with glucose and lipid metabolism, as well go into the central nervous system. So again, that's how we're seeing how the gut is able to communicate with the brain, as well as through nerves as well, but this is another mechanism. All in that to say, when we feed our body fiber through fruits and vegetables, it's going to these bacteria. These bacteria are fermenting them and producing these things called short-chain fatty acids, and then those are going on to different target organs within the body, and we're getting a ton of beneficial effects. So this kind of leads into my next thing, is like why whole food is better than processed food. And you can probably guess, because whole food contains fiber, processed food does not. It's like, it lacks dietary fiber. So therefore you're going to get a decrease in production of these short chain fatty acids. And, maybe the tight junctions between the epithelial cells aren't as tight. So you'll get some of those contents of the colon leaking through. And that's where you've maybe heard the term like leaky gut or something like that. So processed food, not much fiber, a lot of salt usually, not a ton of nutrients. Whereas whole food, right, this contains things like dietary fibers, so we get those short chain fatty acids produced. Our epithelial barrier is very strong, lots of mucus, tight junctions are present, the immune system is stimulated. These short chain fatty acids are going to the pancreas, the liver, the brain, so we're getting all of these beneficial effects. Plant foods also contain these things known as phytonutrients. So if you ever heard, wine has resveratrol or blueberries have anthocyanins, these phytochemicals or phytonutrients found in all plants. And they're different, depending on the color, whether you're having a blue food, a red food, an orange food, they all contain different amounts. And that's why, you should always aim to have different colored foods, is because you're getting different phytochemicals. And what I'm getting at here is these phytochemicals can also interact with the bacteria in our gut to not only aid in short chain fatty acid production, but just, boost their presence, for lack of a better term. And so that's just kind of a summary on why whole food is better than processed food. And the next thing that I kind of want to get at is, you see everything online is about protein. Like people, yes, protein is very important. It is important for you to eat. But if you're always having bad gas, then that could mean that your gut is no longer fermenting. Well, it could still be fermenting fiber, but it's also fermenting these proteins. And proteolytic fermentation is not good because it kind of mitigates some of those effects on the pancreas, whether it's insulin sensitivity or even insulin sensitivity in the muscle. And as well, it can reduce the some of the benefits that we get with this gastrointestinal barrier with those tight junctions with those short chain fatty acids. So maybe if we're having proteolytic fermentation, some of those proteins are getting fermented, we're not getting an as strong of a barrier. And that could be, due to some of the gases and other things that are produced when protein is fermented. So all in that to say, it's important to focus on fiber, getting enough fiber, and maybe, there's times where we do need to increase protein, but if you're noticing that you're getting a lot of, really bad gas, it might be a sign to reduce the amount of protein that you're having, just to favor some of these fiber fermenting bacteria. And so the next thing I want to touch on is soluble versus insoluble fiber. And I want to keep it very simple. So there's two main types of fiber, and each fruit and each vegetable, it's not binary. It's not like this fruit only contains soluble fiber and no insoluble fiber. It's always in a ratio, right? So you shouldn't be focusing on just like trying to increase this one type of soluble fiber just by taking it. It's like you just eat a diverse amount of fruits and vegetables, and the insoluble and soluble fiber will take care of itself. So insoluble fiber essentially acts as a bulking agent for food, and it traps water. Whereas soluble fiber basically ferments by the gut bacteria, so it encourages the colonization of these good bacteria. And then it's also, in the case of, say, diarrhea, for example, where you have a fast transit time, having a lot of soluble fiber, whether it's things like blueberries, you can Google lists of soluble and insoluble fiber, but when you have diarrhea, you can actually include a lot of soluble fiber rich foods to slow down the transit time. So maybe that's not a sign that you should have a bunch of kale and increase your insoluble fiber, because your gut is already moving things fast. You want to slow it down. So that's the sign that you should have more soluble fiber. And so just some like general actionables from this are: digestion starts at the mouth. So we need to make sure that we are able to digest everything. And doing so, you need to make sure that you're chewing at least 30 to 40 times per bite, or just, if you want to be mindful, just make sure it's a paste before you're swallowing it. Like, I've been guilty before. I used to eat pasta as a kid. I'd chew it very fast, or I'd chew it like not much at all. And, yeah, you might have like diarrhea because your body is unable to digest that pasta. So if you chew it up enough, 30 to 40 times, or until it's a paste, that can help at the beginning of the process to make sure that all the enzymes in our stomach and small intestine are able to access these carbohydrates, these fats or proteins. And then some actionables are: make sure that you maintain a fiber-rich diet, so anywhere from 28 to 38 grams of fiber. Also, make sure you're eating a polyphenol-rich diet. Basically, that's some of those phytonutrients that I was talking about. And to make sure that you're doing that, eat lots of berries and bright-colored plant-based foods. If you follow the Mediterranean diet, you'll see that within the diet. So, yeah, make sure you're getting lots of colors. And for the last one, make sure that you're containing some sort of fermented food at each meal. And that is going to be your source of those good beneficial bacteria. And it could be things like fermented vegetables like kimchi and sauerkraut, or like cultured dairy with each meal. So if you do that, that is going to be a good place to start. Eating more fiber, 28 to 38 grams at least. Or if you want to shoot for a target based on, per 1,000 calories, aim for at least, 14 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories. And then I recommend, an easy way is to just track your calories for a few weeks. Just get an idea of where you're sitting, and then you can go from there. But maintain a polyphenol-rich diet, and then make sure you're getting some sort of those bacteria, because the fiber from the first two things that we talked about is going to feed those bacteria, and we want to make sure that they colonize your gastrointestinal tract, and they stay there. Hopefully that was actionable for you guys. Kind of talked about what good digestive health looks like, an overview of what the gut microbiome is, what's in it, why whole foods is better than, processed foods, more protein is not always better, and just like what soluble and insoluble fiber is, and then just some actionables. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Kept it relatively short. Make sure to like, subscribe, do whatever you have to on any of the platforms. Give me 5 stars. I really appreciate you guys listening. If you ever have any content suggestions, just shoot me a message on Instagram at Science with Ben, or if you want to work with me, you can find me there as well. I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.